Thanks, Ottawa, for making us the winner of the 2021 Faces Magazine Awards Radio Station of the Year. BlastTheRadio.com.
So, if you've listened to me long enough, you probably are aware I can pretty much be bought for a hat. And these guys sent me a hat, and I said, okay, cool hat. Let's get you on the radio and find out who the hell is sending me hats. Hi, who are you, and why are you sending me hats? That's gotta be the weirdest intro I've ever done for a guest on my show in history.
Yeah. How's it going? My name is Will Char, owner of High Ties Cannabis Store.
So High Ties, brand new cannabis store in the nation's capital. Hello, Will Char. I've seen you on this glossy, sexy press release that we just received from you guys.
Yeah, I'm not good in pictures usually.
No,
yes.
man, it's awesome. It's awesome. And your friend Nadeem is with us as well. Nadeem is muted for some reason.
Hey, Milkman, how are you?
There we are. Hey, Nadeem. So, my guess, Will's in his car doing business. Nadeem is in one of the stores with a really bad Wi-Fi connection. That's my guess.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, he's in one of the stores, basement probably.
All right, listen, we're gonna. Okay, something about the hat. There you go. Don't you love Zoom? There you go. Oh, Nadeem's gone. Hey, Will, thank you, by the way, for joining us.
No problem. Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Listen, in the middle of this pandemic, with so many businesses having so many challenges, staying open, etc., you are an incredibly ballsy individual, obviously, who decided to not just open one store, but how many? Like 4 or 5?
I believe we're at 7.
7?
On the AGCO, but we're still signing on some new leases. We're still looking to expand, especially like here in Ottawa mostly. We're looking outside in rural areas, but we're trying to spread out a little bit everywhere around Ontario.
So the business is called High Ties. And obviously, High speaks to exactly the business that you're in. But I love the ties aspect as well. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But let's talk about the investment that you've made. So 7 locations, and you're now in talks to open more locations. You have made a $2 million plus investment in opening businesses in the nation's capital in the middle of a pandemic. Pardon the pun, but hats off to you for that. That is, like I said, very, very ballsy. What made you want to go ahead and do this? And why now?
Why now? Well, it's I got my AGCO license. I applied for it. I was aiming for something completely different. I wanted to become a producer, but I applied for the retail store authorization and I got it. And then from there, I'm like, you know what? Let's go ahead and concentrate on the retail aspect, because to make it more accessible for people to buy legal marijuana. And I figured it'd be not just good for business, but good for the community as well. Easier, easier access to cannabis. And that was my main goal. And we keep going and going. There's going to be a lot of stores, but we're going to try to say one of the top ones here in Ottawa.
So, there are now over 80 retailers or applications to be retailers across Ottawa, Canada, Stittsville, Rockland, Orleans, Embrun. This according to the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario. So to score a license seems to me like quite a coup.
Well, I was one of probably the first ones that got the license. It's been over a year now. But, there's a lot of things to take in consideration, preparing, securing locations. It all takes time. And there was a long queue at the AGCO, but they're speeding it up as we speak to allow entrepreneurs, I guess, open up stores a little quicker. So that's been happening, and we've been opening up even sooner than later. So this week we have one. Yeah, sorry.
No, I interrupted you, Will. I apologize. So this is a business that really has exploded. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that, we still had protests on the Hill, make marijuana legal, enough of this nonsense. And now here we are, over 80 stores, including your 7 and growing, pardon the pun.
Yes.
Were you part of cannabis culture long before the legalization of marijuana? So were you part of that movement to legalize this?
Of course. I've always, especially at a younger age, when you're a teenager, you experiment a little bit. But since then, since my medical, I've had a little bit of medical issues with my hands because of construction.
Okay.
And the doctor said I couldn't work after 30 years old. At 30, I wouldn't be able to work anymore. So I don't know. I started using more cannabis. I'll be honest. I did have a prescription for it, and it helped a lot and got me more, involved in the cannabis. Like try to be at least, or try to be part of this. Nowadays the legal aspect of it is unbelievable. Like I'm part of it. Like where it went from illegal to legal, and here we are now, and all these stores are opening up.
So I'm fairly new to this. It was only recently, once we had legal weed shops, that I actually walked into one, and that was kind of my first foray into it. So this is a culture that I'm not necessarily that familiar with, but I do have a lot of friends, of course, who have been longtime cannabis users, etc. And you say, the medicinal benefits of this, and that's pretty much been the big argument too, as to legalizing this, the medicinal benefits that so many people. What is really the difference, between, like, are there different strains, different marijuanas available for medicinal purposes versus recreational use, or are they kind of one of the same?
It's mostly CBD that has the medicinal properties in it. THC, it's mostly high. But you do get some, benefits from even that, relaxing and stuff like that. So it depends what, sometimes it's just for recreational, just to enjoy smoking a joint, I guess.
Sure.
But, it works for both. It's the CBD that has more of medicinal properties in it, which we carry creams and all that stuff. We're seeing a lot of a certain age group come in and ask for edibles. Not everybody likes to smoke, so there's a wide so many different options that you can choose from if you don't smoke, and it's great. And it's only new products are always coming out, different ways of eating it, digesting it. It's pretty cool stuff.
So Chrissy is watching us on our Twitch feed, which is a video and audio feed, and she asked exactly the question that I'm about to ask. Do people tend to use edibles more than, say, smoking or vaping?
Yeah, that's why Nadim, he's running all the stores right now, and we're noticing that a lot of people are going with the edibles. Flower as well, but we're really surprised how much edibles we're selling.
Like, my understanding is, it's tough to find edibles. It's tough for you guys to keep them in stock. Am I hearing that correctly?
That's correct. It's selling. That's for sure.
Because now, I was a smoker up until the age of 32, but cigarette smoke. And my fear has always been that if I smoked a joint once, I don't know, way back when, and I found it didn't do anything for me but make me sleepy. And frankly, I'm the kind of person, I don't need help falling asleep. I nap on it's almost narcolepsy, right? It's like, so I was disappointed. I was disappointed in that. But then fast forward a few years, and I'm dealing with severe anxiety. I'm dealing with some depression, and I start talking to friends, and they're like, you know what? You need to try some CBD. So now I'm off looking for edibles, etc. I couldn't find any. But I really didn't want to get back into the whole smoking of things because I was really afraid that I would end up down that path again of wanting to get into cigarettes. So somebody suggested I try a vape. I still find the vape is kind of harsh at the back of the throat, but kind of a fun little high. I'm not going to lie. And kind of makes you a little horny too. Is that am I out of line saying that?
You sure it's not the wine, Milkman?
Could be the mix.
I was gonna say something, but no. Some people, I'm sure it does make them horny. That's for sure. Everybody gets a different.
Like, would a different strain of marijuana impact that kind of reaction in someone versus? Okay, all right.
Yeah, so indica would be mostly something you take before going to bed. It's a couch lock kind of effect that you get out of it. If you want something not to get too tired and stuff like that, I would suggest using sativa. And sometimes, it's a lot lighter. It won't bring you down. Almost like you can go on with your day pretty much. Yeah. But it depends. If you don't smoke often, no matter what, you're gonna get too high. It depends what you take. But it's all on your tolerance, I guess.
So how would the
you
reaction
can
then
say.
be different? Because I really do want to try the gummies. I think that seems to me, as someone who doesn't want to inhale a lot of things, and I'm afraid of, if I get back on that, I'll become a smoker again, and I really don't want to spend the money, et cetera, and the health, of that.
No, of course.
So, I mean, do the gummies have essentially the same effect on a human being as the vape would, for example?
It's a different effect, but similar. It's more of a body because you're digesting it.
Okay.
So you're almost getting a body buzz. And again, you start slow, and you work your way there. It takes a little bit to even for it to kick in because you're digesting it. But
Okay.
but I would start slow and keep going until you feel comfortable enough. And it is a healthier choice than smoking it, 100%.
So, for anybody who's not gone exploring this new world that is available to us and walking into legal shops, and let's walk them through the door when they walk into High Ties. And by the way, you've got locations: Wellington Street, Embrun, the Glebe, Vanier, Orleans, and somewhere. Whereabouts are you downtown?
We're on Rideau Street.
Rideau Street. Well, that probably makes a little sense.
Which should open at the end of the month.
Oh, so that one's not open yet. Okay, so for anybody who's not been brave enough or gotten up the courage yet to walk in the door, explain what they're in for. Like, I think people have this perception that once they get behind this, and it's almost like the old days of walking to the back of the adult store, right? And there's these doors, and you get back there, and there's where all the movies are, and shh. Because the street front is very generic and it's closed off, and you've got to walk behind a wall. But once you're back there, there's nothing really sort of dirty or naughty about it. It's always very, very clean and very inviting. So walk us through a High Ties store.
Nadim, if you don't mind, you want to walk me through this?
Absolutely.
Good question for you.
Absolutely. It's a great question. So the idea is to make our guests, because we do want to call them guests and not customers, because they're coming into our home. We want to make sure we greet them. We want to make sure that we can relate to them. But the idea is for them to feel warm right away. And a lot of our designs, we actually don't have our front window frosted, allowing guests to see from outside inside the store. Inside of the store, the very first thing you're going to notice is the moss art wall, which is a custom art wall done by a local artist here, the urban botanist. And essentially, it just gives you that warm feeling that, hey, there's greenery, that it's alive, and most importantly, it's a nice Instagram picture as you're leaving in terms of the memory. As you walk into your store, what you're going to find is
almost like a spa.
What you're going to find is amazing bud tenders, fully knowledgeable, and our store layout. So we've also engaged a designer called Iron and Ivory here in Ottawa. They're really renowned for some of their design. Essentially, we have high-end technology, we have high-end items at competitive pricing. So what's cool about it is you're going to find some that you won't find elsewhere. You're going to find some products that you won't find elsewhere. We really focused on being innovative and also exclusive. Now, it's very limited in terms of the cannabis product itself, but all the accessories, all of the additional stuff in terms of our branded gears, we really went above and beyond to be unique. And you'll definitely see that. The big thing about High Ties really is the 1920 Prohibition era that goes with it. So all of our bud tenders are in swanky suspenders, as cool hats, green bow ties, really, really going in there feeling like you're back in the 1920s, 1930s. And that's the idea with some speak-easy music, speak-easy environment. And we want them to feel comfortable. And
I love that you've adopted a theme, and I right away my mind goes to, I'm a big fan of Bar Rescue. And Nadim's internet is still fading out, but I'm a big fan of Bar Rescue, and I love how
we're looking at my mom.
Go ahead, Nadim.
Right. No, go ahead, Milkman. I didn't want to cut you off.
You need better internet at the store. No.
I love this. This is like dealing with some of my morning team members who connect via Zoom, and their brothers gaming or whatever else. I'm used to it. It's all good. But I love. So I'm a Bar Rescue fan, and what I love is John Taffer looks at a bar is a bar is a bar is a bar. I mean, you're essentially selling the same products, with some differences, of course, compared to other stores. But that you're looking at it, and you're going, okay, what's our theme going to be? What's going to make us more interesting, more compelling, more fun, more different from our competitors? And you've adopted this speakeasy theme, etc., with the suspenders. So my best description, and I have not been in High Ties yet. I'm coming, but as soon as I get back down to Wellington Street, I'm popping into your store there. But my impression, my first takeaway from my first ever experience at a legal marijuana shop in Ottawa was it was very much like walking into the Apple store. It's clean. Everything is clearly labeled. It's everything you would need. And the best part is the people that you're employing, and I know you're employing a ton of folks with these new business ventures, and thank you for that because we need the jobs, obviously, but the enthusiasm and the product knowledge is just, it's second to none. So anybody who's thinking, like this is going to be sort of, dark and shady kind of thing, when you walk, this is really on par with this is a really great experience walking into the stores all the time.
Yeah, thank you. That's the thing. When we went to recruit our front line, it was really important that we found people with energy, right?
Yep.
Because we can, you can learn CBD, THC, you can learn a different strain, but you can't teach energy. You can't teach someone being enthusiastic and outgoing, and that's what we were looking for. And the folks that we did hire really are passionate about the industry, but most importantly, passionate about helping and educating our guests. And I love that. And that was the thing that really, was going to set us apart.
Oh, we're losing you again, Nadim.
But come check us out and see how you feel.
Yeah, and what I love is people
elevate your experience, but with that experience.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's nervous about it at all, but they're so curious. My setup for that was all to say, don't be, because you're in for a really amazing experience when you walk in. The enthusiasm and the excitement, and ask any question. Like I walked in, I said, okay, so my wife back in her university days, she'd have the occasional smoke here and there. It's not something I've ever done, but I deal with anxiety, I deal with depression. So what do you recommend for her? What do you recommend for me? And it was just this great conversation about, well, here's, like you said, what was it, stevia? No, stevia is a sugar thing. But, this brand or this line will do this for you. This line will do this for you. Try this, try that. And they walked you right through it. It was really a really cool shopping experience. Now, I want to talk about Jaragon. What is Jaragon, and how does that tie into your business?
Nadim, you want to explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully I don't cut off on the LTE network, not the Wi-Fi network. But essentially, again, the idea is, how do we stand out? And Will himself is, like you said, is a big advocate of the cannabis, but what he's not telling people, he's also a big advocate of arts. So he loves arts. He's always been into arts. And the idea, similar to the Moss Art Wall, was that we wanted some art to set ourselves apart. But what else can we do to show that, we're different? And how can we engage local artists to show that we're giving back to the community? So through our branding company, we were able to source Jaragon and create a partnership. And the idea was to create a unique shoes that will complement High Ties in the community that we're going in. And these shoes are specially designed for High Ties with Jaragon. And every single one of our stores will have that pair mounted on the wall for them to see. We're not selling it. It's just to show that, hey, look, we've actually designed this really cool pair of shoes. You're not going to find any shoes in any dispensaries in Ontario, that I can guarantee you. We're not selling it. It's just more for display. So the idea was to give back to the community in terms of the local artists, but also show our guests something different than just your typical accessories or your typical product up on the screen. Give them a different feeling and a different environment walking to a dispensary.
And if people are not familiar with shoes, so Jaragon has collaborated on the shoe front with Jennifer Lopez, with Mark Anthony, with J Balvin, with Maluma, and on and on and on. So that's a cool little talking point as well, just to hang out in your store and see all of that. So it's a $2 million investment. High Ties, and you've got locations. Is Wellington Street open yet?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Embrun, I know, just opened. A friend of mine just said they were there the other night. They heard about it here on BTR. Is the Glebe open?
No, that will be in April.
Nice. Vanier,
It's going to open at the end of the week.
you already talked about
Montreal
Rideau
Road.
Street downtown, and then Orleans. How are we doing on the Orleans store so far?
Orleans, we need another month or so.
But that's happening fast. That is happening
Yeah, everything
fast.
at once. It's crazy.
This sounds like a real lot of fun. And I mean, so you're starting with 7 stores. Where does it end for you? Where do you go next from here?
We'll just go with the wind. No, I'm not sure. We'll see
Go
where
with the smoke.
we
Wherever
go.
the
How
smoke
far we?
takes us, no chance.
Yeah.
Very good. So it's called High Ties. How can people connect with you online and find the exact addresses? And I would assume your Facebook pages, websites, etc. would kind of give them a little feel for what they're in store for when they do walk into a High Ties location.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Sorry.
You can check us out at High Ties Cannabis on Instagram. We have all kinds of cool stores. You can actually take a look at a preview of our stores. You can go to highties.ca. We're also on Facebook, High Tide Cannabis. You can follow us on all the social platforms. Sign up to our newsletter at highties.ca. We're also going to be launching a loyalty program starting Friday to all of our guests walking to our stores as well. So lots of ways to connect with us.
Well, expect to see my hatted face in your store. I love the hat. The hat's just cozy. Like, can people
Where's mine?
Can people buy your merch, by the way, at the stores as well?
It's actually selling pretty well, Milkman.
Nice.
A lot of people love it because it's their first time experience and they want something to leave with as memory. And I love it. So we have sweaters, we got hoodies, we got long sleeve, short sleeve hats, pom-poms, we got grinders, we got lighters, you name it, we got it, my man.
Oh, the lighter, by the way. So that was included in my little gift pack. Thank you for that, by the way. I haven't had a Zippo since high school. I've still got mine around. It's amazing how quickly that disappeared and vanished. my wife's
We'll hook you
never
up with some more.
she's never had a Zippo, and she's like, oh my god. So off to Home Hardware I went on the weekend picking up some zipper fluid, and boy, the smell of that stuff alone took me way back to high school. But yeah, that was swiped right into the gift pack right away. So thank you for that, and thank you for creating such an awesome business that I know so many people are going to just I mean, look, it's a recreational thing. It's no different than alcohol, etc. You know, just be responsible, be safe with it, be smart with it, relax, enjoy, especially during these times right now, right? During COVID-19,
Absolutely.
anything we can do to just give ourselves a little escape and just chill out a little bit, I am all for it. So High Ties. Nadeem and Will, thank you so much for joining us on blasttheradio.com. For those just joining us in progress, this interview, I'll make that available on the BTR YouTube page in a little bit, and also available on podcast if you check for Morning Brew. Thank you very, very much for joining us on BTR, blasttheradio.com. Continued success, and consider me a fan. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.